Hello everyone, Kate here, back with another video with part 3 of this act. Let's get right into it. The definitions in this section are substantially consistent with, and this comment draws on reinstatement third of property, wills and other detonative transfers, section 17 to 17 plus 5, and the accompanying commentary. Section 103, presumption of unlimited authority exception. Unless the terms of the instrument creating a power of appointment provide otherwise and except as otherwise provided in subsections B and C, the power is 1. General, 2. Presentedly exercisable, and 3. Exclusionary. B. If a power holder may exercise a power of appointment only jointly with the adverse party, the party is non-general. If the permissible appointees of a power of appointment are not defined and limited, the power is exclusionary. Comment. In determining which type of power of appointment is created, the general principle of construction codified in subsection A is that a power falls into the category giving the holder the maximum discretionary authority to accept to the extent that the terms of the instrument creating the power restrict the holder's authority. Maximum discretion confers on the power holder the flexibility to alter the donor's disposition in response to changing conditions. In accordance with this presumption of unlimited authority, a power is general unless the terms of creating the instrument specify that the power holder cannot exercise a power in favor of the power holder, the power holder's estate, or the creditors of either. A power is presently exercisable unless the terms of the creating instrument specify that the power can only be exercised at some later time or in some document, such as a will that only takes effect at some later time. A power is exclusionary unless the terms of creating instrument specify that a permissible appointee must receive a claim about or portion of the appointive assets if the power is exercised. This general principle of construction applies unless the terms of the instrument creating the power of appointment provide otherwise. A well-drafted instrument intended to create a non-general or testimony or not an exclusionary power will use clear language to achieve the desired objective. Not all instruments are well-drafted. However, a court may have to construe the terms of the instrument to discern the donor's intent. For the principles of construction applicable to the creation of power of appointment, see Reinstatement Third of Property, Wills and Other Donative Transfers, Chapters 17 and 18, the accompanying commentary, containing some examples. By way of additional example, a testimony power of appointment created in the donor's child to appoint among those donor's descendants is likely intended to be a non-general power. Subsection B states a well-accepted exception to the presumption of unlimited authority. If a power of appointment can be exercised only with the jointer of an adverse party, the power is non-general power. An adverse party, as defined in section 102, is an individual who has substantial beneficial interest in the trust or other property arrangement that would be adversely affected by the exercise or non-exercise of the power in favor of the power holder, the power holder's estate, or creditors of either. Consider the following examples. Example 1. D transferred property in trust, directing the trustee to pay the income to D's sons S for life. Remainder in corporis to such persons or personas as S, where the jointer of X shall appoint in the default of appointment. Remainder to X's power is not a general power because X is an adverse party. Example 2. Same facts as example 1, except that S's power is exercisable with the jointer of Y rather than with the jointer of Y if XY has no property interest that could be adversely affected by the exercise of power, because Y is not an adverse party. S's power is general. Subsection C also states a well-accepted rule. Only power of appointment whose permissible appointees are defined and limited in non-exclusionary. Defined and limited in this context is a well-accepted term of art. For elaboration of the examples, see Reinstatement Third of Property. Wills and other detonative transfers. Comment C in general. Permissible appointees are defined and limited. If they are defined and limited to such a reasonable number, typically permissible appointees who are defined and limited are described in class gift terms. A single generation class, such as children, grandchildren, brothers and sisters, or nieces and nephews, or a multiple generation class such as issue or descendants, or heirs. or heirs. Permissible appointees need not be described in class gift terms to be defined and limited. However, the permissible appointees are defined and limited if one or more permissible appointees are designated by the same otherwise or individually identified. If the permissible appointees are not defined and limited, the power is exclusionary, irrespective of the donor's intent. A power exercisable, for example, in favor of such a person or persons rather than the power holder's estate, the creditors of the power holder, and the creditors of the power holder's estate is an exclusionary power. An attempt by the donor to acquire the power holder to appoint at least X amount of money to each permissible appointee of the power is ineffective, because the permissible appointees of the power are so numerous that it would be administratively impossible to carry out the donor's expressed intent. The donor's expressed restriction is disregarded, and the power holder may exclude any one or more of the permissible appointees in exercising the power. In contrast, a power to appoint only to the power holder's creditors or to the creditors of the power holder's estate is a power in favor of the defined and limited class. Such a power could be non-exclusionary if, for example, the terms of the instrument creating the power provided by the power is a power to appoint to such of the power holder's estate creditors as the power holder shall by will appoint. But if the power holder exercises the power holder must appoint X amount of money to a designated estate creditor or must appoint in full satisfaction of the power holder's debt to a designated estate creditor. If a power is determined to be non-exclusionary because its terms are provided an appointment that must benefit each permissible appointee, it is to be inferred that the donor intends to require an appointment to confer a reasonable benefit upon each permissible appointee. An appointment under which a permissible appointee receives nothing, only a normal sum, violates this requirement and is forbidden. This doctrine is known as the doctrine forbidding illusionary appointments. For elaboration, see Reinstatement Third of Property, Wills and Other Donated Transfers. The terms of the instrument creating a power of appointment sometimes provide that no appointee shall receive any share in default of appointment unless the appointee consents to allow the amount of the appointment to be taken into account, calculating the fund to be distributed in default of appointment. This hodgepodge language is used to minimize unintended inequalities of distribution among permissible appointees. Such a clause does not make in the power non-exclusionary, because the terms do not prevent the power holder from making an appointment that excludes a permissible appointee. The rules of this section are consistent with, and in this amendment draws on, Reinstatement Third of Property, Wills and Other Dotative Transfers, Section 17 to Section 17.5, and the accompanying introductory note and commentary. Section 104. Non Transferability. A power holder may not transfer a power of appointment. If a holder dies without exercising or releasing the power lapses. A power of appointment is non-transferable. The power holder may not transfer the power to another person on the liability of the power holder to exercise the power by conferring on an appointee of new power of appointment over the appointed property. See Section 305. If the power holder dies without exercising or releasing the power lapses. The power does not pass to the power holder's estate to the power holder's successors in interest. The liability of an agent to make, revoke, exercise, or revoke the exercise of power of appointment on behalf of a principal is determined by other law, such as the Uniform Power of Attorney Act. This rule of this section is fundamentally consistent with, and this comment draws on, the Reinstatement Third of Property, Wills and Other Dotative Transfers, Section 17 plus 1, Comment B. Section 105. Supplementation of Act by common law and principles of equality. The common law of powers of appointment and principles of equality supplement this Act except to the extent modified by this Act or other statute of this state. Comment. This Act codifies those portions of law of powers and the appointment of those are most amendable to the codification. This Act is supplemented by the common law and principles of equality. To determine the common law principles of equality in a particular state, a court should look first to prior case law in the state and which to more general sources, as such as the Reinstatement Third of Property, Wills and Other Dotative Transfers. The common law is not static but includes the contemporary and evolving rules of decision developed by the courts in exercise of their power to adapt the law to the new situations and changing conditions. It also includes the traditional broad, equitable jurisdiction of the court, which the Act in no way restricts. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.